United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Comments? If there's any member of the public who would like to make a comment on an item that's not on the agenda, now's the time to do so. You see anybody? Okay. All right. The minutes from the last meeting, I'm looking for a motion to approve them, if everybody agrees with them.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the previous minutes as presented.
Very good. Is there a second? Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, Jessica, you want to talk about the events?
Yes, so there are two events. There's the 25th annual Sealy Lions Pre-Fat Mountain Bike Race on August 22nd. We do have insurance for that one. And then also the Berkey Trail Run on September 25th. And we also have insurance for that as well.
Okay. Greg, do you know if there are going to be any commercial activities connected with these two events?
At this point, we don't have a request in.
Okay. How do we monitor that? I mean, if they would run commercial activities on 00, I mean, how do we know they've made their application and understand?
Well, I mean, it's easy enough for us to check. I mean, we have enough people that attend these things and Facebook posts and whatnot. So
Okay.
most of the registration forms that come in kind of spell out what's going to be available. There's concessions and whatnot. So that's kind of how we're monitoring it at this point.
Okay. Good. All right, so let's probably take these one at a time. I'm looking for a motion to approve the 25th annual Sealy Lions Pre-Fat.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the 25th annual Sealy Lions Pre-Fat Mountain Bike Race.
Okay, is there,
Well, I want to add something to that.
Hathaway?
As long as everything is in place to do this legally.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Okay, motions are made and seconded. Any discussion?
I guess I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
In discussion, then, I had just gotten an application for this race, and they're going to do it virtually, or they're going to do it over several days. Is that correct, Tom?
I'm not aware.
Yeah. Greg would know.
Greg?
Yeah. I mean, I know they've talked with Julie on this about how to do it. So they're trying a lot of different things to maintain the social distancing. So they got a lot of options. They're just trying to get something to happen. So.
Okay.
So for your question, Mr. Buckholz, they're going to do it safely and over several days. People can ride the course at their leisure and not have a big group setting where they're exposed.
Okay.
All right, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, then how about the Berkey Trail Run on September 25th? I would look for a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the Berkey Trail Run.
Okay, is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Ms. Ins, you're up.
We received applications for 2 parcels in the town of Bass Lake, Northwoods Beach. I've got the funds on file and request for approval.
Okay, you're recommending approval for both of those. Okay. I would need a motion to the purchase of county-owned land in Northwoods Beach.
I'll make a motion to approve that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right, Eddie.
How much am I going for?
600 for the 2 parcels and 2 lots.
That's standard, isn't it?
Yep.
The interim?
Okay, we started out in April with 64 parcels when we filed our notice of commencement. 47 of those parcels have paid. We ended up filing judgment on 17 parcels. 8 of them were Northwoods Beach parcels that would include 36 lots. 2 parcels had improvements, and 7 parcels were landowned at total almost 88 acres. The judgment was filed on July 29th, so it's a review procedure at this point.
Okay, this is just for review, and you'll be back
Next
sometime
year,
later for an approval?
it's already gone to court.
Okay, all right,
It's done.
good. Okay, any questions on the 2020 NREM? Okay. I guess we don't have any other land sales to approve, do we?
It's right beside you.
This one? Okay,
This is the 2020 land sale now, so it will be renumbered now that we've sold those 2 Northwoods Beach parcels from the 19 list. These were parcels that we added 7 of them that came in from last year's in-run action and reduced the price on parcels that had been out there previously and did not sell.
and you need approval to proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. And the parcels that we lowered the price on, what do we go, 25%?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any discussion or any, look for a motion to approve the 2020 land sale list?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 land sale list.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Is the tribe interested in purchasing any of these properties?
They're on
Because
our
we
mailing-
recently purchased a bunch of land in North.
they're on our mailing list.
Oh, there.
Yep.
Did you get any response from the tribe?
Well, we haven't sent it out yet.
Oh,
We
okay.
have in previous years. This is just the first.
Because we have our own real estate agent.
I know you have.
Okay.
Just a comment also, we extended the due date to September, so we'll come back to committee till October. We're hoping that we'll get more bids that way, being that we got everything ready earlier than we normally do. And this sheet that you received, and if you won't hand that out because it will be renumbered and because of those lots that we just sold earlier. We don't want people applying for something that's,
You want them back?
I can,
Okay,
I'll pick them up,
all right.
Okay.
okay?
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the 2020 interim? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
It's the
Yes.
2020 land sale list.
Lance, I'm sorry.
Good luck. I hope you're very successful.
Yes,
Yeah.
always. Thank you.
Okay, so that takes care of the treasurer's report. Forestry, you're up.
Okay, first up, we have the 15-year plan, chapters 100, which is our background information for the comprehensive land use plan, and chapter 200, which is our general administration chapter of the land use plan. We had both of these items we've had here for I think 2 months now. Last month we had it presented, and this month what I'm looking for is an approval of these drafts that we can put out for a 30-day public comment period via website to get comments in, email, letters, whatever. So I have comments in from Bruce on chapter 100 that I will incorporate into the plan. So if there's any other comments or suggestions from committee that we could include, otherwise I'm looking for an approval for the draft for public comment.
And once the public comment period is over, we would look at it again and approve it.
Yep, I will compile the comments and I will present those to the committee, and then there will be, I guess, a final draft approval for those, and we'll be moving through these other chapters. So
Right.
the committee will have, at a minimum, 2 more opportunities for any changes based on public comment or anything like that. And then we'll have a final approval of the whole plan before the county board
Okay.
later on this year.
How many chapters do we have?
Altogether, there's 9 chapters of information, and then we have several appendix chapters with backing info and statistics and things of that nature.
Right. So we need a motion to send chapters 100 and 200 out for public comment. Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. Send it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So now we have the Berkey land lease and the Berkey MOU. And I guess our attorney's online to answer any questions that we might have.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just as review, the Berkey 00 land lease and the Berkey MOU are two documents that we've been working with the Berkey on pretty significantly over the last several months, actually. Just for review, the 00 building that is out on county land, on county forest land. The county board previously authorized a rezone on that property to commercial, to allow certain commercial activity to occur on that specific land. Now, this is still county-owned land. County controls what kind of commercial activity can take place out there, and that is controlled by these documents that you have in front of you. So, that was one of the issues that that has been discussed, and you have the opportunity to relook at that and approve specifically what you want for commercial activity out on those grounds, and those are specified within these documents. These documents both really clean up, the ownership issues, our relationship with the DNR, our relationship with the Berkey, and it's been a good cooperative effort and a good asset for the county. But I'll let Rebecca fill you in on any of the details and the differences between these two documents, just as an overview.
I would like to hear that.
Thank you, Tom. So starting with the ground lease covers the area immediately under the 00 building and the surrounding areas. So it really governs the relationship between the Berkey and the county as to what can happen on that individual piece of property. Now that document, because it's a lease, actually grants a land interest to the Berkey. It grants a leasehold interest. And that is the differentiating fact between the ground lease and the MOU. So that's the reason we have two separate documents, because the MOU is an agreement saying this is what Berkey can do, not only at 00, but on the other trailheads that are cited in the MOU and also on the trails. So that's the reason we have two separate documents, because we don't want the MOU to grant a real estate interest to all of the land that the Berkey uses throughout the county. So again, that's the reason for the two separate documents. As Tom noted, the agreement set forth what are the permitted uses in the ground lease area. So in the, on the 00 property. And we've discussed those, in detail. So hopefully if you have any questions or comments, I can explain those in terms of what is a permitted use and what is not. Are there any other questions from the committee members? Or Tom, anything else you'd like me to touch on?
Yes.
What is the payment for this lease? I'm reading a section. Rebecca, I'm reading 4.1. Can you explain that to us? Payment in lieu of rent?
Yes, so there is no rent paid directly from the Berkey to the county that we would, for a lease payment that we would, generally think of in a different lease situation, the tenant pays the landlord rent. Here, we don't have an amount paid per month in rent, but rather there is the consideration of the fees that are paid both under the lease and the MOU. So the percentage of user fees, things of that nature. And then also the consideration is, has been discussed, the value that the Berkey brings to the county. You know, not just in the Birkebeiner race, but in other events and other races, that because they bring that value to the county and the value of those visitors, that's sufficient consideration for the rent.
Yes.
What user fees are you talking about particularly?
I think Rebecca, it would be the 5% of gross revenues for your commercial activities.
I apologize for
Correct.
this ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know, I should touch on too, a big thing I forgot. Also for payment in lieu of rent, the Berkey is still responsible for maintaining the trails. So that's a cost that the county doesn't incur and that the Berkey does take on in lieu of rent.
Okay. Any questions, any more comments on the Berkey 00 land lease? We would then, if we approve it, we'll go on to the county board for approval, correct? Correct. Okay. Any more questions?
How long is this lease?
Hey, I have one question. Hello?
Yeah.
Just checking to see, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, can you state your name?
It's Mark.
Oh.
Mark Helwig.
Go ahead, Mark.
I've been listening for a while, but I haven't been able to get on this way, so I'm good now, okay? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Okay.
I'm gonna mute.
Okay, so we would need a motion to approve, or what would you like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this 00 land lease and send it on to the county board.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carried. Okay, then we can move to the Berkey MOU, and Rebecca, Tom, we already have an MOU, don't we? And this is just a cleanup?
You do. You have an MOU from 2016 that addresses a lot of the issues contained in this MOU. This MOU was modeled off of the existing agreement, but Mr. Chairman, as you said, this document cleans up a lot of the points that were not anticipated in the 2016 document and address uses that the Berkey would like to engage in that are not permitted under the 2016 agreement.
Any questions for Rebecca or Tom?
Excuse me.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions? Is he there?
Oh, okay. No, I do not. I hit the wrong thing, but no, I do not.
Okay, good.
I guess I do, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Rebecca, what are the major changes between the 2016 and this one?
Okay, good question. Sure, good question. The primary change is the commercial activities that are now permitted on the 00 property. And that is why the county rezoned that parcel a few months back. And the commercial activities are limited in these agreements, in the lease and the MOU. So there's a limited amount of commercial activities that are now allowed on these parcels. The cleanup also is, there was some incorrect legal terms, frankly. There were some other points that were just not best practices that we fixed. The MOU also sets forth the percentage of fees for gross receipts. It contains language that was important to DNR to recognize that these are public lands. And so therefore a continued access to the public, even though this MOU is in place. So those are the highlights in terms of changes, and again, cleanup, and again, main intent was to address the uses that Berkey would like to engage in that were not addressed in the 2016 agreement. Financial terms did not change. There's no other, well, other than the 5% fees.
Okay. Mr. Schrader, do you have a question?
Yeah, does this affect just Berkey commercial activity, or does it affect anybody's commercial activity?
Rebecca, did you hear that?
Was the question whether the MOU addresses all commercial activity or just Berkey commercial activity?
Yes.
That's the question. Okay. Again, good question. It addresses essentially both, because the agreement is with the Berkey, but it also sets forth responsibilities for the Berkey to monitor its subcontractors and other activities that would be engaged on the properties. So this agreement is not directly with other users, but it does set forth obligations for Berkey to supervise some of those other users.
Go ahead.
So if an individual, let's say I wanted to set up a bratwurst stand up there, who do I go to, the county or the Berkey?
The county.
Okay.
Yep, the county is the point of contact for the permitting. And Greg, you can give some more details if you like on the, sort of the administration and the nuts and bolts of that.
Yep, my hand is up right now. So we have a permitting process for the commercial activities, and we have a policy set forth between us and Berkey. So Berkey is still responsible for the same permitting as a member of the general public, but for Berkey sponsored events, Berkey monitors the activities, they collect the payments, and they submit that to the county. They still have to have their own permit, but they handle their administration with their sponsored events. So if a member of the public wants to do a brat stand that's not tied into the Berkey event, then that permit application would come through the county. So the Berkey would still be aware of what's going on, but then the county would administer that permit with a private individual.
Even on a Berkey weekend, does the Berkey have exclusive use at that point in time?
We would coordinate with Berkey. They wouldn't have exclusive contractors. They can have theirs contractors for the event, but I think we could still permit, a brat guy, on a Berkey weekend. But we would coordinate the scheduling of all these events still with Berkey on the major weekends.
So they would have to say yay or nay over the bratwurst stand?
It would be a discussion, yes, but not a final yay or nay. But we're trying to do this a collaborative effort. So basically, like the MOU and the ground lease, the permitting process, it is just an effort. So everybody knows what the county's doing, what the Berkey's doing, and so we're just trying to work collaboratively through this.
Thank you.
Don't buy your project.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
One important point that the MOU clarifies versus the old MOU is the right for the county to have an objection to any scheduled events on the property covered under these agreements. And the reason for that is to really make sure that there's that good understanding of good faith and working in good faith. So when you put that in a legal document, it elevates the obligations of cooperation, which was important to the county. But then also it rolls in that legal obligation that the county can have a bigger say in what is engaged in on these properties, because it has an obligation to do so for the public good. So this MOU specifically addresses what role the county can have and should have from a legal perspective in a say on what happens on these properties in these areas. And again, that was not contained in the 2016 agreement. So that's an important clarification.
Okay, any more questions for Rebecca or Tom? Great. Okay. I would entertain a motion then to approve the Berkey MOU.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the Berkey MOU
Okay,
and to send it on to the county board.
is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, any more discussion, I guess I should say. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay? Motion carries. Okay, recreational trails report. Mr. Grothick, you have it. Of course.
Always. Don Rotek with the Sawyer County Snowmobile ATV Alliance. Trails are pretty good right now. We've had some issues with the rain and that, but otherwise most of it's been corrected. Been a high traffic amount out on the trails. People want to get out in the woods and the water. Also, right now, what I'm excited about is we're working with the Schwamigan National Forest, Spider Lake Township, and Round Lake Township, trying to get a trail route from Lake Woods down to Moose Lake. We don't have anything over there right now. This would be huge. We're working on something like this for 20 years now. So it looks like something that could happen in the next few months. So I'm very excited about that. Be a combination of trail and route for ATVs to get from Lake Woods down to Moose Lake. Connect that part of the county up. That's it. That's it.
That's it. Any questions for Mr. Yes, go ahead.
What about the repairs of the trails over by, they were washed out during last rains?
You know, the Dyscovia itself there.
There's two, say, on the site.
Yeah, actually, Gary might be able to address that better.
Yeah, we had 6 major washouts in the Draper area. Can't remember what day that rain event was, if that was a Saturday night. But yeah, as of now, we had those repaired. Snowmobile ATV Alliance handled the repairs through the maintenance money. We're still seeing if we can get a little funding from the state to help offset that. But we have that stuff repaired probably by Tuesday or Wednesday. So all those major washouts were patched up. The trail was open right back up. So.
Nose back open.
Sounds like I learned.
That's why it keeps me going.
Chairman, I have one question for
Sure.
Don Rick. Here a while back, you guys hired out a grader to grade that, I think it was a Dyscovia.
Yes.
How did that turn out? I haven't been on the trails for a while, so I didn't get a chance to look at that. Did that work good or no?
There was mixed discussion on that. Some people thought it was good, some people thought it was bad. I don't know, one of the big things is when trying to pull the sod into the middle, you need somebody to come through behind that and break it up.
Break it up. Yeah, well, they grade that the same way they grade the town roads. They always leave the sod.
Yeah.
You gotta run around. But
Yeah. So there was mixed discussion on that. We just need to make sure that in the future when we do that, we have somebody go behind the grader and take care of the clumps and stuff that's pulled out into the middle of that.
I could touch on that real quick. I think it worked out pretty well. I mean, the problems that we've been dealing with at Dyscovia is a lot of that material hadn't been pulled in from the side for a long time. So, and while it looked a little bit rough at first, you know, we had all the sod balls and everything, but once things kind of settled down, I think it was really successful. And go back to the washouts, you know, when we inspected that section where we had the washouts and we had graded to just east of Winter, it's like once we hit the section that had been touched up and graded and reshaped, the damage was almost all gone because it just shed all the water off. So from management standpoint, maintenance, I thought it worked out pretty well. And I mean, we'll take a few complaints from some of the riders about some big sod balls, but it really held the trail nice.
So is that something that the clubs are gonna do or whatever on the trails is grade them every once in a while or no?
That's my hope. That's the plan. I mean, we've been working through fine tuning our maintenance schedules with the Alliance on that. So, because it makes a big difference. You know, we spend a little bit up front, you know, with the maintenance money to get that stuff graded. It solves a lot of problems later on with water management.
We can do some maintenance with the tractor now, but every now and then we need that grader, you know, big piece of equipment to do it. So in the past, the DNRs graded it, and they did it just the opposite though. They graded a groove down the middle of the trail, and that's where all the water ran down the trail, creating problems and washouts there. Where this, by grading the edge out and let the water shed off of it, it's much better.
We have Linda that would like to say something.
Go ahead. Linda, go ahead.
Good morning, thank you. Wanted to ask that for future reports on the motorized trails issue, if we could get a report on accidents, fatalities, and law enforcement issues. The Dyscovia Trail down here near Birchwood comes through 3 counties, Sawyer, Washburn, and Rusk. And law enforcement in this area from the different counties and local have just had their hands full, especially this year with ATV issues. I have a property that's right off to Dyscovia, so I see very frequently nobody is following speed limit signs. We have a request to drive slowly due to dust issues. And any given weekend, it's just a major cloud of dust from Edgewater through down to, you know, Cedar Lake. And so there've been a lot of issues. That part of it never gets reported. The part that gets reported is that we have a lot of, you know, people using the trails and then the maintenance issues, but there's a lot more that gets involved with that, and we're having lots of problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. We'll look into it. Any more?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Motek, we've had concerns with our new bike path out there by the casino and the approach to it, that we've had some motorized vehicles on the bike pedestrian path. Who's in charge of signage, and where do we get the signs, you know, that would keep motorized off the asphalt? Right. I know there's a big split there right by the casino, you know, you head south. Well, the problem is the bike path was put on the ATV trail there, and I've been working with Henry a little bit on some of the signage. She's got some signage out there. Where they rerouted the ATV trail off the bike trail now, there's a water hole in there. Right. And 2 weeks ago, I had Discover Wisconsin out there. We were videotaping that through there. We stuck an side by side in that. He could not get through. I actually drove illegally up on the bike trail to get around where that spot was because you could not get through there. Henry went out there with the bulldozer, fixed it right after that. But it's a spot that's going to be needing repair because family machines could not get through there before. So hopefully that'll help. I think Henry's been writing some tickets out there to people that ride illegally on the bike path. But if we've got some signs, I know LCO's got some signs out there too. We're open, whatever we can do to help with it. But I know they rerouted it there. That's a wet spot there, and it needs to be fixed up to keep the family from getting stuck in that.
All right. Any more questions on the motorized trail report? Okay. I don't see anybody here representing the non-motorized, so I guess we can move on to Mr. Gregg.
Okay, month of July, let's run through this real quick unless we have any questions, but we had 11 sales listed as active. We're seeing a pretty good level of activity, targeting mostly our Aspen sales, Aspen and Oak, as the hardwood market's still pretty much in limbo with the Verso closure right now. But we still got a pretty good level of activity, so we're looking okay for now. Sale value on file right now uncut is just shy of 3.5 million. Our revenue for the month of July was $225,414. So altogether, with our total revenue so far, we're just a little under 1.2 million. So it's looking okay. we'll see. Markets are still pretty squirrely with all the pandemic effects and everything else. So, but I'm pretty comfortable with the level of activity that we have right now. So sale inspections on target for a level activity. We're starting to get a few tracks turned in. Recon is on target for what we're looking for the year. Good Neighbor Authority, we submitted our final invoice of $18,042 for our fiscal year 20 contract with the state. We've just finalized our for year 21 contract. So there's 2 agreements within that contract. One is for 263 hours of timber sale administration based on what we set up for the state and the feds for last year. And that's just shy of 18,000. And the agreement 2 is for 615 hours of timber sale establishment at just over 41,000. So this is all overtime hours that staff puts in as part of the agreement with the state that we work on some of the forest lands for national forests. Oakville's really starting to fire up. We've got 3 more additional infection areas that we've confirmed, and we've begun treatment on those. We're not going to be able to do any DNR flights this year for detection, but we're going to try to work in some drone work with some different people there to do some closer inspections on some of these known areas. But we've had the restrictions on timber sales for timing, so we don't have activity between April 1 and July 15th on sales with oak. But we get one windstorm in the wrong spot, wrong timing, we have damage, and we can get a potential infection. So something that we're working on pretty closely right now. So we've treated a couple of them. Let's see, moving on. ATV Snowmobile Trails, we touched on the Draper issues. The Dyscovia Rehab projects have started. Actually, as of this week, the first project from Schrock Road to Highway C is completed, and the contractors moved on to the second one from Schaefer Road into Coudray, and we've got the third big one on the county line from Price County line to Uncle Tom's Road, which is kind of in the area where we had some of those big washouts. So they should be getting to that shortly. So other than that, we did bid out 3 other trail projects. We received 3 bids in each project, but the bids were all over our budgeted amount. So we're kind of working through the projects again, and we'll probably re-advertise those and see if we can get some more suitable bids and get the timing of that for next year. Hatchery Park, nothing new to report there. Nelson Lake Park, we did receive the final grant payment reimbursement for $25,506. This project, if you have a chance to go up in Nelson Lake and take a look at this bow landing improvement, Town of Lenbrook carried this out. We have an MOU with them for maintenance and caretaking of the park. It turned out really well. Town did a really good job with that park. It really looks nice. So.
Yes.
Well, thank you. It was much, every time I drive by there, it looks pretty busy.
Yeah, it's a lot of use.
Folks have discovered it,
Yeah.
Rediscovered it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What is the average price of stumpage on top now?
For our stumpage, out of the woods, we're in that $50, $52 range. Last go around with mixed hardwood pulp, I think we're just over $25, but that was before the Verso announcement. So
I just wondered how bad that's been affecting that part of it. Number 2, when I came in on the thing, public radio was talking about another mill in Wisconsin Rapids asking for help, for state help. How much more mills can we afford to lose around here?
None.
I mean, but that's.
Yeah, it's serious.
On that part of it, you don't see anything else changing. What about the one up in Minnesota and Wisconsin that closed up? Or any state working with that?
Well, the Verso mill, yeah, there's the one in Duluth and there's one in Rapids. And, I know they've got a task force with the state, with the legislature and everything, and they're working with Verso themselves. You hear a lot of rumors, it's tough to verify anything, but I know you know, that it's a impact that ripples through the whole state. So there's a lot of people working on this to try to get this back up and going. So I don't have any confirmed information that I could give you, but we're paying attention and trying to, you know, hope for the best.
I know on the FSA board, they tried, because forestry falls back under us again, anyway. And I know they've been trying to get funds available. And I don't know at what point that's negotiations beside ours, where we get the readings back.
Okay.
And they predict another 22 to 23% loss of usage of wood in Wisconsin. I just wondering how bad, because now like this, you talk to the loggers, it's always bad.
Right.
It's just the nature.
Yeah. Yeah, but this one's kind of unprecedented. But I think everybody's holding out hope that hopefully that a buyer will pop.
Yes. go
Greg,
ahead.
are we on track then to reach our 2020 budget amount that Forestry promised us?
Promised, yeah.
Promised.
We're
Did you say it wrong? Projected us.
projected, yeah. We're on target for now. I mean, but the market is really spooky right now. But we've got a lot of our bigger contractors that are pounding away on the aspen sales that are really carrying us. So if we can continue on this course, and if we don't have any catastrophic weather events, you know, for rain events, I think it's gonna be okay. I'm not promising, but I think it's gonna be okay.
So for 2021, then you're gonna project a more conservative number? Have you met with Tom, and is that something?
I've been looking at my numbers. I haven't met with Tom yet on that, because it's so timely that I try to hold off as long as I can before I get pinned down to throw a number out there. So, but I'm doing a lot of research, and you know, we're going to do the best we can.
Okay, any more questions for Forester? All right. And DNR forest report, you don't have anything from them, do you? Okay.
Nope.
All right, so now we're on to zoning and conservation. Jay, are you on?
Yes, I am.
You want to cover anything?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot for land water this month. You do have the permits issued as of July 2020 there in front of you as the hyperlink. Soil test and sanitary permits were still up on those numbers, and land use permits were down about 30 over this time last year, but we are still firing on all cylinders here at zoning, and I do anticipate that number of land use permits starts creeping up here. There seems to be quite a bit of people out there that are still wanting to proceed with larger projects, potentially waiting here before we get that first cold snap, and that usually seems to fire everyone up to say, oh boy, time to get that project done here before the snow starts falling. So certainly anything else to answer them at this time. Yeah, I just seen that it popped up. My internet connection is not stable, but I don't know what was the last part you heard there.
Any questions?
Yeah, and I guess that's where I would end it. Again, I don't have much on the agenda here for land water this month. We are still running and firing on all cylinders via the zoning and conservation side. I know we have wrapped up several projects from our Tiger Cat Dam reimbursement. We have submitted for the final reimbursement request. Still waiting from the state to proceed with releasing those funds. That'll get some more money back into the general fund for money we've already used for the project. As well as the $50,000 grant reimbursement for the Carlson Dam project. So we've issued or proceeded with requesting those final payments amount, and still waiting back from the state DNR grant policy coordinator manager to release said funds.
Jay, when are we gonna schedule the CAFO public hearing, or what's your thinking on that?
Yeah, that's later down on the agenda. Again, you know, with the nature of how the pandemic is going and COVID is going, and, you know, the governor is kind of still stating that, you know, meetings over 10 people should be kind of, you know, postponed or, you know, held a different way. You know, with the nature of that type of meeting that we would hold, there's going to be quite a few different stakeholder groups out there that are going to want to voice their opinions either for or against, you know, potentially even going down that road, where at this time, because of the nature that we're in with this pandemic, I still think it's probably best to wait until we can, you know, have a larger capacity meeting to really get all those parties involved to really voice their opinions correctly. I don't think the virtual aspect meeting for a hearing such as that is going to be the right approach to use. So at this point, I would still wish to postpone scheduling that meeting.
Mr. Van Archek's got a question.
Yes, and when you talk to other zoning things, is the county willing to take on the cost of the lawsuits that come from this? I mean,
That would be a question I'd have.
Stop the people operation in the state of Wisconsin, as far as I know. No.
Right, and that'd be a question I'd want to run by our county administrator, as well as this. I'm sorry, say that again?
Have you talked to the county lawyers about this, the costs involved for this? The last lawsuit in Sawyer County was about a cranberry. That cost the people $850,000 to refund Farm Bureau for their suits. Is the county willing to eat this up front and continue? Because there will be suits.
Right, and I have talked to legal counsel about, you know, the legal routes of, you know, setting up potential, you know, moratorium and the routes that would need to proceed in order to do such, but we haven't had a conversation with the legal ramifications or lawsuits that would pen from something that, again, at this point is still not decided whether or not we're having a moratorium or not. So hard to answer that question.
Jay, we do have legal counsel on the line yet. Rebecca, do you have any comments related to that at this point?
Sure. Jay's correct that he and I have had discussions about the logistics of a moratorium. The moratorium serves an important legal purpose, but even with the moratorium, there are specific legal steps that the county has to follow, and that is due both because of legislation and statutes that are on point, but also due to case law. Even just establishing the moratorium may create legal risks. I know in assisting other counties with these issues that there are many groups who monitor CAFOs and county actions on CAFOs throughout the state. And these can be very aggressive groups that are monitoring actions. Those aggressive groups then lead to an increase in risk of litigation. So we have to make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed, even in the preliminary steps of setting a public hearing to talk about a CAFO moratorium.
Right, and I should just make the clarification again is that, you know, if and when we ever come to a point where we're able to hold the large meeting, that would not be the meeting to establish the CAFO deadline. It's a meeting to even go down the road on whether or not we should have a CAFO meeting. So basically, it's a meeting for a pre-meeting.
And Jay is doing the right due diligence process, and that's what Andy and I would advise. But again, because of the heightened scrutiny on CAFOs that we see across the state, it is very likely that the county will receive a lot of feedback from both sides of the issue, even in that meeting before the meeting. Again, because it is such a hot topic, if you will, and there are very vocal advocates on both sides of the issue.
Linda?
Good morning, Linda Zilmer again. Just wanted to thank Jay for the work that he's been doing to keep the planning committee going on the update of the county's comprehensive plan? And then my question would be, which committee should the updates of that progress be given? Just would like to, be able to trace that in minutes somewhere. Thank you.
Jay, that's before zoning, isn't it?
Yeah, it would probably fall more onto the zoning side of things, being that it is the comprehensive plan update, that it was the committee of jurisdiction that, it initially approved for setting up that ad hoc committee. I can certainly add that on future zoning committee agendas to give that update. We're still in a very prelim state as far as the comp plan update, but we are moving along. I think we'll be holding our 5th meeting now on August 24th. So I think on the September zoning committee, I can throw an update there to inform not only the general public, but the zoning committee members at that time as far as the process and the updates that are being taken place.
Hey, Jay?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. So the comprehensive meeting is canceled for this week and going to the 24th.
That is correct. Yep. Email was sent out on Monday. Originally was scheduled here for actually tonight at 6 p.m. That has been canceled / postponed until August 24th. That would be Monday the 24th. That would be held 6 p.m. in the assembly room.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Okay. Any more questions from the zoning department, or zoning conservation department?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Jay, on this public hearing, I agree with you on that because a lot of the local farmers in my district down there are really wanting to put their input on this. Whether they show or not, I don't know, but I think we should wait until they can, we can all get in together to do this.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And, we'd had kind of a brief moment, back in March, right before the pre-pandemic state kind of hit here, where we were going to hold a meeting, and that was kind of a timing conflict with a lot of the farmers, and that, that was the time that they needed to start, prepping to get to, fields planted or at least tilled. And, that was always a topic of conversation as well, as we definitely want to work with all stakeholders involved, including the farmers, to make sure that, it isn't during the heart of their farming operations, whether it's for planting or harvesting, just so that they don't feel that they're getting cut out because it's at a time that they can't make a meeting work. So yeah, we still have it on the agenda is for a future date to be decided for, again, basically a pre-meeting before an actual meeting, whether or not we even go to the meeting state. And again, at this point, with the nature of the pandemic, it would be at least my recommendation that we continue to postpone it until restrictions are lifted from, holding a larger type of venue. I would imagine that, this type of conversation, this type of topic would be, upwards of 50 people, and it would probably need to be at a, other designated location that could hold that amount of people.
Mr. Streeter, do you have a question?
Yeah, what does that acronym stand for?
CAFO is a concentrated animal feeding operation. So the state designates that a CAFO, a concentrated animal feeding operation, be one that holds over 1,000 animal units, where one animal unit equals 1,000 pounds. So typical dairy cow might be, slightly over 1,000, where other livestock animals might be over 1,000 pounds. So they designate an animal unit to be 1,000 pounds, and then anytime you go over the 1,000 animal units, you are then designated by the state as a concentrated animal feeding operation.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, any more questions for Jay? Okay, if not, Mr. Van Archik, do you have anything from USDA report?
We are distributing. There was nothing new at this particular time. What we spoke about 2 months ago, where you're just trying to make sure all the programs are taken care of and everybody gets their money. We are losing roughly 20% of our farmers from what they tell us again in the 7 counties that our district goes for. And hang with the bigger farmers with the capo, you will see a battle because that's our survival is to get bigger.
Right.
And what they're gonna do is see, on my small farm, we have 100 head of beef. We're going up to 300. We don't have a choice. You can't buy a tractor for $100,000 and expect it to be paid for.
Right.
So, and like I say, I sit on advisory boards for other positions, for cheese, AMPI, Farm Bureau, Union thing, farm. They are willing to fight, and that's why I'm asking the county, how much money are you willing to put forth?
Any questions on the USDA? Okay. LCO report, do you have anything, LCO conservation or not?
No, really nothing to.
Okay. All right. Any other items for discussion? Anything else we want to talk about for the good of the cause? Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned, somebody asked about the revenue budget and forestry. Obviously, the budget discussions that we're having are ongoing. We are meeting with departments. Departments have turned in their initial budgets, and then Mike and I go through and meet with each department and talk about the finer details of each and try and put the whole budget package together. So we'll be discussing that in future agendas as well. Not too much, it's not on the agenda today, but if it was, there's not too much to talk about yet. For these departments, pretty standard as far as staffing and operations go, but there are a couple of changes that we're contemplating, and we'll bring those forward as we get them put together.
Okay. Any more items for discussion? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.